Welcome back to the Startup Evangelist. This is Mike Vitagliano. And as promised, I got rid of the collared shirt and I haven't shaved, so this is the natural look. Thank you for coming and watching episode 5, Disruption and Leverage. These were two concepts that were foreign to me when I started my company. The words weren't. Everybody that I spoke with around or in the startup community in Boston always mentioned disruption and leverage. You had to be both. Nobody ever explained what they were. I had to figure it out on my own, and it was not a pleasant process. So I wanted to get these two topics up front, so that the next generation of founders can at least understand from one individual's perspective, that would be me, what they mean to me. So with that said, let's get to the PowerPoint and start sharing the good stuff. So the concept of disruption and leverage, they always seem to go hand in hand. And to me, what it means is an enhanced buyer outcome. And 4x to 10x tends to be the rule of thumb that is talked about. That seems to be the reality for a enterprise buyer to be able to justify a return on the investment of the dollars they're spending with the vendor, to be able to bring in a new solution. And I know that's a pretty wide range and it's pretty abstract, but I expect that the concepts will become clear as we move through the presentation. So um, this was the part that really baffled me. Um, I did not understand the impact that our solution was going to have on the enterprise process, so I was never able to make the claim. I went in to see potential buyers, and I would just tell them what it is that we did. But and these were in my initial conversations. I got better as the months went on. Um, but I never brought it back to what did it mean to them. And that's why I stress so often that you have to start with the problem. The problem is starting with the problem is critical for your venture capital discussions. It's just as critical with your enterprise discussions. You have to understand the enterprise processes that your solution is going to impact so that you can have the business discussion with the buyer on why it is they should prioritize acquiring your solution over any of the other competitive or alternative solutions that are in the marketplace. So that part is really, really critical. And again, I just didn't understand how important um, being able to have the conversation with the buyer on how it was going to impact their internal processes. Founders come in, two flavors. The process improvement founder, that was me, and what I call the insight founder. And if I go back to these enhanced buyer outcomes that I mentioned above, the process improvement founder has to typically argue for that 4x to 6x claim area. That's what I've come to realize over the years that process improvement solutions can do. The new insight founder or the insight founder, they really change how processes are done. And I'm going to go into that concept in great depth in several of the next 6 videos that are a part of this 7 video series that I've announced. The Insight Founder builds something brand new. And what that means from the conversation with the enterprise buyer is you have to have a deep enough understanding of their current processes so that you can position your new solution into the current state of their operations and make the claim as to why this introduction of a new solution is going to fundamentally change their internal processes. That fundamental change is what gets you into the 7 to 10x buyer enhanced buyer outcomes. And let me talk about a very specific Insight Founder solution that I absolutely love from a story perspective, and I think it justifies the comments that I'm making in this 4 to 10x range improvement, and that's Discord. Discord is currently has a multi-billion-dollar private valuation. It was founded as an independent company in 2015. And there's talk in the street these days of an initial public offering. Now, the reason that I love the Discord story is Discord wasn't built as an as a by the Insight founder as a specific solution. It was an internal tool. The company that built the Discord tool developed it as a part of their gaming community. That was the business that they were in. And they realized that if they had a chat tool, they could have a more productive relationship with the users of their gaming solution. And it had a whole series of other features, voice over IP, et cetera, besides just chat. What the founder recognized was that immediately as they made this server available, other organizations eliminated their IRC chat capabilities and replaced it with the Discord functionality. So they became an Insight founder by accident, but I think it's just a wonderful accident. The founder was able to recognize the impact that their solution had and immediately pivoted. Now, this was not a first-time founder. They had built a separate company that had been acquired. This was their second venture. They had built a first company that was acquired. This was their second venture. And as I said, they built the Discord tool as an internal tool without recognizing its external value. And the impact on the customer service market has been significant and substantial. The talk on the street is that Discord currently has a private valuation in the $7 to $8 billion range. Obviously, this is going to be a wonderful exit for everybody involved with Discord, including the venture capitalists. The reason I bring Discord up is that, again, when I was talking to venture capitalists and other founders, and they would use the phrase, well, if you develop something that is disruptive, you'll have a first mover advantage. And I could understand the concept of a first mover advantage. I didn't understand how to get it. And while our company in the process improvement space had a first mover advantage, it was in a very narrow space. It was for those enterprises that had Cisco routers, typically large enterprises that had Cisco routers and were experiencing their internal employees claiming that the network is slow. Discord has changed the customer service landscape across many different markets. And to me, that's really definition of disruption. So they implemented or were responsible for, I should say, a total market adjustment. And that's the way that I measure whether a solution has the ability to be disruptive. I mentioned it in one of my earlier videos. Oftentimes, founders will make the comment that they're going to change the world, or they're going to, or they attempt to with by overhyping their solution. I use the phrase, they attempt to boil the ocean. Um, but when you speak with a founder that has a truly disruptive, innovative solution, you can, with the experience that I have, you can immediately see that there will be a substantial market adjustment that will follow. So let me talk about another, although this next company is not a B2B business, but a B2C business. Let me talk another disruptive innovation, ride sharing brought to us by Uber. It totally disrupted the taxi and black car limousine market. And the founders of Uber really had two compelling events that drove the insight into their solution. One was they rented a black car to attend a New Year's Eve celebration, expecting that they would probably having a few adult beverages along the way. And the bill after the night was over, they talked about the bill that they got hit with and just said it was outrageous. We should look at, can we do something to, build a solution for that particular space? And then the second event was one of the founders was in Paris attempting to get a taxi and just found it to be a very challenging event. Those two circumstances came together and they built the Uber app. They looked at, would individuals be willing to um, use their own automobiles, and by building this massive global application or application that has global reach, would they be able to provide insight for the buyer as to when they should expect their car to show up, to give them certainty on the price that they would pay? And that that combination of functionality just, completely almost to its entirety eliminated the taxi marketplace. There are still individual black car limousine services, but in many instances, especially if you talk to the younger generation, Uber has become synonymous with the ride sharing functionality, the way Xerox became synonymous with a copy and Kleenex with tissue. So they really have done a fabulous job in bringing that market to bear. And oftentimes, and not oftentimes, but it's typically when the market is so substantial, there are many follow-on ventures that come in. Lyft was one of those. I personally have never used Lyft. I assume functionally functions the same way and allows you to request a ride and have somebody show up to pick you up. Um, so, when a market is that big, it often opens the door for more than one vendor to be able to provide the service. Now, the reason I chose Uber is they're a rather recent vendor in their particular space, and I believe that they're about to get disrupted. Tesla's robotaxi could disrupt the ride-sharing vendors the ride-sharing marketplace in their entirety, both Uber and Lyft. And the reason for that is, although Tesla is not a startup, disruption can come from many different places. They have completely vertically integrated the supply chain for what will be self-driving vehicle or an autonomous driving vehicle. They're talking about designing a robo-taxi without a steering wheel. It will all be driven by Tesla software, and the taxi is going to come with, the appropriate vision functionality, as well as the map functionality, where it shows up where you are to pick you up and drops you off. And with some of the trade press that's available, Musk is talking about, building robo taxis at an extraordinarily high rate. Um, what that will give him is the ability to, the biggest cost that Uber and Lyft have is the cut of the fare that they have to give to the driver. They both talk about, the driver gets roughly 60 to 70% of the fare. I don't know the exact number, the exact number off the top of my head, but they have 3 million plus full and part-time drivers. And if Tesla has a car that is cost reduced because you don't have a steering wheel, you don't have the mechanics of a gasoline engine, and you have all of the complementary technology that you need for that vehicle to function on an independent basis, they obviously could change the pricing in a dramatic way. Uber and Lyft do not have the same vertical integration in terms of manufacturing their own cars, so they will be at a distinct market disadvantage versus what Tesla's robotaxi could do. So disruption can happen very, very quickly, and it is important for the founders to recognize that as soon as they disrupt a market, that not only will impersonators come in to try to take a piece of that market with their solution, but then a whole category of new founders are going to be looking at that market and the success that they had and try to figure out, is there a way to disrupt what exists and how they can move forward with a solution to go get a piece of that market. Now, the term leverage is much simpler. And that only took one conversation with an experienced founder for me to understand. And it comes down to four phrases: build something once, use it for as many enterprise customers as you can attract, sell the same solution to all of those enterprise customers, and support it only once. And what that really means is, don't build, if you're building a SaaS solution, a software as a service solution, don't build a separate version of your solution for every one of your customers. Salesforce.com is a classic example. They've built their application, and tens upon thousands of organizations and millions of salespeople use Salesforce.com, and it's the same platform. Now, I'm not a Salesforce administrator. There may be settings that you can do to, change the display name so it shows your enterprise name and, the company X versus company Y. I don't know if they've gone to, that length, but the underlying platform is the same for everybody. And when they do an upgrade to the platform, they do it for everybody all at once. And you're going to see in episode 6, I'm going to talk about the B2B business models. This is one of the critical factors that a venture capitalist will look at to determine whether or not your venture, your proposed venture, is a fundable venture. Leverage has a really big impact on your costs and your supportability, and ultimately that leads to margins, margin improvements, and once you stop losing money, you've got to start making a profit. So the terms disruption and leverage, while they're often used together, are distinctly different, but they are equally important to an investor as they're looking at your solution, as they're looking at your pitch deck. And so understand where you are. Are you a process improvement founder? And if so, own it. Tell the venture capitalist, tell the enterprise buyer why your solution is going to be important to them and how they will benefit from either investing in your company or buying your solution. But you have to understand the current state of their processes to be able to make that claim. If you're an insight founder, I wish I was one. I'm not. I don't have the skill set, and I'm too old to try to figure it out now. But whenever I see, and I look for new venture announcements all the time, and as I said, I talk to new founders all the time. Whenever an inside founder comes along, it's a really, really exciting time. And for those new founders that are claiming insight capability, I wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you again for your time. And as I said, this is the first of 7 distinct episodes where I'm going to be covering really critical concepts for those first-time founders to understand and grasp, and then to build them into your pitch deck, into your talk track, into your storylines, etc. So again, thank you for your time.